Welcome back, everyone, to our series of live shows. So the idea is that we are shining a light on some of the stars in our community. The overarching kind of goal that we share is we're trying to create companies that people love. And so this series is to offer a source of energy and inspiration where each day we're inviting people to share like what we've been trying to and doing in our companies to influence the company culture, and also what we've been doing to develop our own well-being. If you'd like to comment, let us know you're watching, ask a question, you can do so either by tweeting with the hashtag Culturevist, or on the page you can click a link where it says click here to comment on YouTube, and you can write comments directly. So with that, I'd like to welcome our guest for today. Hello. So if you'd like to, I can relax now. So if you'd like to introduce yourself for people watching.
Hi, Matt. Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Sklinar. I am an internal communication specialist. I work at a charity in the UK, and I'm also a music lover and a really bad runner.
Most people would come on and be like, really keen runner, or yeah, really try and do it in my lunch break. I like setting the tone.
I'm real.
So can you share the story of what's led you to working in influencing company culture?
Absolutely. So I've only been working in internal comms for about 5 years. I worked in finance for a lot longer than that. When I was working in finance years and years and years ago, I was running a music blog. I love writing. I love being creative in that way. I can't play a musical instrument to save my life, but I love music. Living in London, great music scene, started writing this blog. And during the day in finance, people knew about my music blogs. I'd come in and go, oh, this gig, this band, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, I was that annoying person who wants to get the department newsletter going without realizing there's a whole internal comms team who do that for a living. I didn't know internal comms existed. But chance would have it, the dots joined, the stars aligned, and I was offered as a comment working in internal comms for a year. I never really looked back, apart from taking a year off to run that blog full time.
So from that, so on that journey then, and the experiences you've got in the internal from the internal comms entry, like which aspects of company culture are you most interested in now?
That is a really good question. I'd say I've got sort of several points there. I find it really interesting how people don't realize, a lot of people don't realize that everyone can influence company culture and contribute to it. It's not just about leadership or people above you. It's everyone has got a part to play. And I think a great culture is where that is really obvious and people feel that they've got permission to contribute to the culture. And line managers as well. I feel like a lot of employee engagement and internal comms focuses on your senior leadership at the top and your colleagues who are, I don't like saying at the bottom, because everyone's doing a really important job. But in this middle, sort of the middle of the sandwich, you've got the really meaty bit where you meet, if you're vegan, you've got your fake chicken, whatever you want, you've got your filling, but the filling's the best bit of the sandwich. Like without the sandwich, you've just got bread. So they're the line managers, and line managers are super important but they're often so forgotten about. They're this middle bit, they're not often well supported. But they're who the colleagues engage with daily. You go into work, you speak to your team leader, your line manager, but line managers often in these roles, they're not in these roles because they're good managers or excellent communicators. They're there because they're good at the job and they got slightly better than everyone else and got a promotion or could apply for a bigger salary or whatever. So I find it really fascinating about there's so much people can do to support them. And I think a lot of people have questions about how to work with line managers, but it can feel like a bit of a wild west. I find it absolutely fascinating because they have so much influence, but they always need more support. They've got time constraints. Their world is very different to the internal comms world I live in every day. And it's really interesting to get close to them because we operate in very different spaces. I find that really interesting.
Yeah, I know what you mean about like saying the top and the bottom. I guess
Terrible
particularly
analogy with the sandwich. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, I didn't know if you did like maybe that's like maybe you've written a book like and that's the title of your book. I don't know. The language. So language, like whether we say top and bottom, it's like it does, particularly as an internal communicator, it has so much impact. I found myself at times trying to avoid it when you're saying okay, and then it goes up to this person or down to this person. And it's hard sometimes because it's so dependent on the context. Like if the organization is structured where it is not so like one hierarchy, if you've got a team there and a team there and a team there might be hierarchies like based on decision making, but it won't just be like one. Unless it's like structured differently, like it's the context is that it's kind of up and down in a lot of cases. So it's one of those examples of where like changing language can help change the culture, but then also like there's going to be a tension until you change the structure and the design of it.
That's super interesting because even thinking about how you see org charts and things, you often see your senior leadership and then everyone flowing down like a family tree. But you could actually even draw those differently, couldn't you? I'm going on a tangent here, but you could almost have the leadership team in the middle or dotted around the outside, a big circle or going sideways. And that would people would visualize that leadership and that hierarchy differently just by how it's presented on a piece of paper.
Yeah, one like relatively simple thing that I've tried to do is just do it sideways. So even if they haven't like changed the structure, rather than putting people at the top, like having them on the right or on the left, and then sometimes introducing like the customer as well, whoever that may be, so that it's kind of seen as on a similar level rather than so top down.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like there's so many little things you can do to influence how that culture is visualized from someone's first day at the organization.
Yeah, all big things. But that's not for today. Okay, so could you share? Well, we started doing it already, but could you share maybe based on your experience, a couple of examples of work you've done to influence company culture?
Sure, yeah. First of all, I'm going to briefly, I'll talk about something that happened a few years ago when I worked at an organisation in London, and then I'll talk about something I've done over the COVID pandemic. So briefly, the one in the London organisation was a merger of 5 companies and 2 small organisations, global merger, 5 different cultures, 5 different technology setups, 5 different brands, 5 different kinds of email addresses, and there's a lot going on there because there was the biggest 2 organizations are really fighting like against each other. They had a lot of history. These 2 companies were over 100 years old, and what happened was there was worked with the L&D team. It's not everyone plays a part, right? There was an organizational board game that was made, and because they even changed the processes and the way the organization was going to run, how different teams had worked together. And everyone in the organization got to play this board game in groups. It was a pretty involved board game. You have to have a meeting room booked out for 3 or 4 hours and you play 3 rounds, and it almost relaunched the values and all this kind of thing. And because people were playing through a process with other people in different roles, they could sort of see, right, well, I'm sat in this role here, but I can see what you need to do over there now and how your culture's changing too. And all this sort of different thing it really helped harmonize something. And that was amazing to see. And in terms of, come back to the COVID pandemic that we're all bored to hell of by now, recently where I'm currently at, we launched Workplace by Facebook. That was partly a wellbeing thing, partly a keeping everyone together, connected, but keeping the organizational brand and feel at the forefront of people's minds as well. Because if you're going to the office, you see the branding every day. You're having those little incidental coffee chats about work and things. You're a lot more connected to the organisation. So Workplace has done really well. We did a 3-month pilot first of all, then decided to keep it in the organisation. We have 1,500 colleagues where I work, and I think 88% of people are using that now. Half of them are using it every single month. We don't actually use it for work though. So if anyone's watching and not familiar with Workplace by Facebook, it's an internal social network that looks like Facebook. We chose it because there was less onboarding, because the UI it's really familiar looking to people with likes and loves, etc. But you don't have friends, you have groups. So we've set up a single corporate group where we do have organizational news and updates, and then we have Culture Corner where people post playlists and music, and I saw this band online the other day, and I'm reading this book and all this kind of stuff, and what's for lunch, and people are posting their food and things. We've brought that out a bit further. We've started bringing some work things into it. Our executive team said at the start they didn't want it to be a work thing. They didn't want it to be a core comms channel. They don't want people to feel like they have to be on there if they don't want. There's absolutely no pressure. If you want to use it to connect, please do. If you don't, you won't miss out on anything by not being on there. So it's an added value thing. But we still use intranet, email, etc. But like we've used it for our sort of town hall, all hands broadcasts now. We've started doing Ask Me Anythings with different departments. So marketing, for example, did something a while ago, and we have someone from the marketing team hosting this Ask Me Anything thread. Anyone from the organisation can come and ask a question on that thread, anything at all. We've had people, find out about what each other does and that kind of thing. So that's helping create those connections that you wouldn't even have in the office normally, COVID or not. We're based across 8 organisations, and there's people connecting now. On average, a person connects with 30 other people per month on the platform. Do you do that in the office? Probably not. So I think that's something that's been really, really helpful, definitely. And I'm quite glad we use it, and we took it in a non-work way first, because I think people warm to it better than going, oh my God, I've already got email, the internet, Teams, another channel. I can't mentally deal with it because the world's a scary place right now. But we've made it softer, so it seems to be going well.
It's so hearing kind of, some people might think, oh, it's not used for work. Like so many people are focused on bringing in like a social network and like how can we use it for like the core like activities for my role. And there's like obviously huge value in that. One of the things I really like from what you shared is that it doesn't have to be that. Like any communication, it kind of depends on the purpose, and it sounds like you had a really clear purpose on this is what it's for, and then you're kind of seeing new purposes emerge from it. So I like that. And then about the board games, I've experienced something similar, and like it can be a bit like this is a bit like depending on the board game. Like it could be a bit like naff or abstract, but then I found there were times where I was like, okay, actually this is helping me be like way more empathetic because I'm stepping in someone else's shoes and I wouldn't ordinarily think like this. So I can, if someone thought, oh, we could do that, I think it's definitely worth kind of exploring like with an open mind.
I think it might depend where your culture is when you're doing this kind of thing. The board game place was right for the culture, and they had a lot of budget to spend. These board games are not cheap. They're customized to the organization. There's no other organization that'll ever use them again. Whereas launching Workplace, to where I work as a charity, we do a lot of fundraising activities normally. Every month we're fundraising for something. We're a charity of fundraisers for the charities a lot. And Workplace has helped us do that. We've been, we did baking for Alzheimer's, we've done fundraising for Mental Health Awareness Week, and people can still get involved in that giving culture. But to tell you something about our culture, it is very traditional. And when we tried to launch an employee social network about a year ago, the answer was hell no. No way, people won't do their jobs. I'm exaggerating a little bit there, but there was a little bit of fear around it. And there was still some of that fear when we proposed Workplace. But originally, people wanted to have an organisational-wide Facebook group. Now, we can't police that. We don't own the data for it as well. There's all these sort of IT security kind of issues around it. And Workplace feels really good. We've had some great feedback, and we're gonna see where it goes. But we did actually sort of do a double channel thing recently with it. Recently in the summer, we sent out sunflowers and sunflower seeds and a little physical gift card to everyone's homes, and a little thank you note from our CEO and executive team saying thank you for the hard work you do. We really appreciate life is hard right now. Let's stick with it. It's going to be okay, etc. Just a little sunshine in everyone's letterboxes, because this was April, May. No one knew what was happening with the world. Feels like eons ago, doesn't it? We published that on our intranet, explaining what it was for. But we did like an added value bit. So again, like I said, Workplace was used. If you didn't use it, you weren't missing out. But we created a Growing Together group on Workplace, where we asked everyone to post photos of their seeds as they grew. And at the end, we'd have a competition, and we picked the best ones. Now, that was amazing, because people started going, oh, my sunflowers aren't growing very well. What can I do? And someone in the Glasgow office is talking to someone in Cardiff going, have you tried this? Have you tried this? Those two people would never normally meet. It's incredible. And then actually, speaking of the Glasgow office, they actually pooled their sunflower seeds together, because some of them were still working in the office because we're key workers. They've got a rooftop garden, and they pooled their seeds and made a little garden together.
Is this true? This story is like so beautiful about collaboration. I'm like, this is a made-up story.
No, true story. In fact, they didn't actually win the competition, but we gave them a runner-up prize to give them some more like gardening tools and buy more plants. But it's changed our culture completely, because I really feel that has been quite strong, because of a social media platform that we launched.
Yeah, I think that's a great example. I've done something similar. I'll share it for another time. Okay, super like useful specifics for sharing. Thank you. If someone's watching this and they're looking to influence their company culture, what advice would you give them?
Oh, that is a really good question. It's a toughie. It's good, isn't it? I guess the biggest thing really is, remember, culture's never done. So as much work as you're going to do on it, there's never an end date to it. It's not a project that can stop, which I think is really interesting, because people come and go and change. I would definitely say that. And I'd look at, what is the culture like? Do you know where you want it to go? Who's responsible? Everyone's responsible for a culture, but who has a lot of influence on it? Are the right people having a good influence? Because people pick up on those vibes. If you've got someone who is, the loud complainer is such a big influencer. But once you turn that person around, they will be such a big advocate. It's about knowing who your influencers are, but being authentic and real about it at the same time. You want them to be trusting you. You want them to be transparent, and that's what culture's about, right? And I guess finally, also, any data you've got, don't just look at what it's telling you. What is it asking you to do? For example, our colleague engagement survey last year, we looked at what we scored quite lowly on, took 3 work streams out of it, and took some real action and gave people updates monthly about what was happening, and that kind of thing. And I think it's not just about numbers and measuring culture. You can feel it. Things have changed. So look at what the data's telling you, but look at what it's telling you to do, and do something about it. Don't just sit back there and go, oh yeah, well, culture's for the leadership, not me, because it's not.
I really like the simplicity of that. So it's like, don't look at what the data's telling you, look at what the data's telling you to do. Is that right?
Yeah, like what is the data saying that?
So it's like biasing towards action.
Yeah.
You're giving a bunch of ideas to future sessions, and around the look at the oh yeah, that was it. About, okay, so if like someone's a really vocal detractor or dissenter, like imagine what they'd be like if they kind of shifted their view or mindset or opinion or whatever it is. It's an idea for us to like another one of these sessions, maybe as a group, but to explore like, how much should we try? Like how much, because it's dependent on so many factors, like whether someone will be influenced. So it's almost like in change, how much, whatever change that is, like how much do we want to try and like create the conditions for this seed to blossom, for want of a better analogy? Yeah, that's a super interesting one.
I mean, my sort of personal way of getting around those is involve those people, ask them, almost do like a focus group. People like being asked their opinion on something, and if they've got a strong opinion, give them the space to talk about it in a way. I did a change recently. We launched a new line manager channel, and there was someone who had a lot of strong opinions about this. So I did this new design, new process, and I said to him, do you want to have a look at it? I want to get what you think about it. And I think they just really just needed, that person needed somewhere to talk, and they were very open, and they seem to be, that relationship seems to have improved. And I'm not saying that's going to work for everyone, because everyone's different, and work isn't just everyone's life, is it? People have home lives and personal lives, and if you're going, oh my god, they're so disruptive, you don't know what's going on in that person's life either. And it made me sound like a bit too a suck up in a nice person, but I always try and remember that people are people at the end of the day. That was not meant to sound schmoozy.
No, I was just thinking, like, you made it so easy to like make all these tweetable comments. Brilliant. Okay, so we've gone from company stuff to some of your view on like advice and from the work you've done. If we now look at well-being, what are your in addition to being a bad runner, what are your well-being habits?
Trying to be a better runner.
Okay, thanks. That's all we've got time for.
I think just remembering what I enjoy at the moment, remembering that I'm not just here to work and be in the house all the time. I take a fake commute every morning. I take a cup of coffee around the block, things like that. And just being aware of it.
Yeah, I'd heard about the fake commute a lot, probably like many people, and I didn't do it. And then I started.
Yeah.
I guess it's like the change thing. And it has been amazing, just walking. Just like a really short walk. And sometimes it's not even that long, because like if I've got a meeting. But yeah, it actually worked for me. It's one of those things you're like, oh, sounds good, but I won't do it.
Okay.
yeah. Until like, oh, we do the show tomorrow, and I'd be like, I'm not doing it anymore. I feel as though we should draw it to a close there. If people would like to follow you, like connect with you, if they've got a question they want to ask you, how can people stay in touch?
Sure, yeah, you can look me up on LinkedIn. My name is Kimberley-Marie Sklinar. There is definitely only one of me. If it's easy to spell, on Twitter, I am Do Something Kim. That is all one word, Do Something Kim.
Cool, I'll put the links beneath the video. Okay. So with that, Kim, thank you so much. Yeah, this is like a huge learning experience for me, and I've learned a lot from you, so thank you. We're back tomorrow, same time, and we're going to do a guided meditation with Yoga Nidra. So hopefully see you then. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.